illness. And it was something that completely came out of the blue, and I had no idea that it was even within the realm of possibilities that could happen. And for the first few years, every morning I woke up was like a burden, was like a debt I had to pay. Every night I slept with a prayer that God, please, please don't have me wake up tomorrow morning. And yet when I woke up, it was like thoughts came from everywhere as if to fill a vacuum in my head. And it was just the worst thing. I had never experienced anything like that before. And after a year, I could not change that for a long time. And then somewhere I read a quote by Dalai Lama, and he said that, just if you make a tiny shift, just a tiny shift, do something really small that is positive in the morning, and it'll change your whole day. And I thought, I don't even want to, but okay, I'll do something. And I devised this mantra, which basically was self-made. And I said, okay, I'm going to say thank you for the day. I'm going to say, thank you for today. Thank you for Sagar. Thank you for Simon, my husband. And thank you for me. And however much my mind resisted doing it, said, really, I don't feel it. I don't feel thankful for anything. But I'm going to say it anyway and see what happens, Dalai Lama is a very learned man. Maybe there's something I can learn from him. And I started doing that even with tears in my eyes. And I found that slowly there was a shift because I shifted my position. The world shifted around me. I still have dreadful mornings sometimes, but at least I have some control. I can do something which may or may not work, but that's okay. At least I can try something. I'm not utterly powerless in the face of this. So saying yes to life, you're here, you're saying yes to life, and you may say, how is it possible? How is it possible? Some of you may think, in the face of such devastation, to say yes to life. Life is so unfair, which is true. You're right. Yet there were many, many people who have gone through terrible things, and they have come through it, winners in a way. They have not let life defeat them. They have fallen many times, they have crawled, but then they've gotten up and danced. And they have fallen again and gotten up and danced. I'm sure some of you have heard of Viktor Frankl. Most of the rest of the talk has actually come from his book, this one, Man's Search for Meaning. It's just one of the most beautiful books. So he was in a captive in the concentration camp. For 4 years, he could have died any day. He was severely malnourished. He didn't have basic clothing. He didn't have any hope. And yet, when he came out of there after 4 years, he wrote this book in 9 days because he was so full of learning from that experience. And he did not want to forget it. He just wanted to put it down. And it has sold 12 million copies and been translated into many languages. And it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And he believes that if you know why, then you'll be able to bear anyhow. So he was a psychiatrist by profession. And he speaks of an elderly man who came to him every week, absolutely distraught by the death of his wife, who he'd been married to for 60 years. and couldn't bear being apart from her. And his suffering did not make any sense. But one day, Viktor Frankl asked him, so if she would have died, if you would have died before her, how would it have been for her? And he stopped and he thought, oh my God, it would have been just terrible. Because she was much weaker than me. I managed everything. I managed the finances and the house and everything. If something would have happened to me, she would not have known what to do. And suddenly his suffering had meaning. He said, well, it's actually maybe I need to suffer her loss so that she doesn't have to suffer mine. And Viktor Frankl never saw him again. He could now cope with his suffering because it made sense. He could give it some meaning. Not that it made sense, but he could attach some meaning to it. It's very hard because this doesn't make any sense. Who are we trying to fool? I mean, if I lose my son, it's not, it doesn't make sense. And there is this resistance in my body. It says, it doesn't make sense. Don't try and tell me it makes sense. And, I have to tell myself as much as you that while it doesn't make sense, I have to give it some meaning. And talking to you today, and thank you for allowing me to do this, TCF. I admire what you do. You help me have meaning in my life. So you do me a huge favor. I can do this because my heart is broken. Otherwise, I'd have never been able to. I can do this because I want to connect with you. It means something to me. So thank you. He also said that everything can be taken from you, but one thing, the last of all freedoms, to choose one's attitude under any given set of circumstances and make your own way. There is no path. You and I will make the path by walking it. It'll be our unique path, and it'll be different for each of us. We'll connect and we'll support and help each other. But ultimately, we'll have to make our own path. And this is my encouragement to you, that you can make your own path. We all can. Victor came up with this formula, D equals S minus M. And this is a little exercise for you. We're going to attempt it and see what happens. So I would like you, I'll tell you what D is. So if D is despair, what are S and M? If you can think of some answers, please put them in your chat. And Carolyn will moderate the answers. What could S and M be if D is despair? We'll wait for a minute or two. D equals S minus M. I know it's a funny mathematical equation.
We've got sadness minus meaning, suffering and meaning, suffering minus meaning, sorrow minus meaning, suffering without meaning, sadness minus motivation, and survival less meaning.
Yeah. So he did say that, if your suffering has absolutely, if you can't give it any meaning, that is despair. So he also said that, if we go out into the garden and look to catch a butterfly, we see this beautiful butterfly and we reach out our hand to catch it. It's bound to fly away, right? It's going to fly away. There's no doubt about that. But if we stand still in the garden and watch a rose, watch a blade of grass, watch the sun shining, whatever, just stand still and focus our attention on something else that makes us happy. It comes and lands on our shoulder. Happiness is like that. It comes when we are not looking for it, when we're doing something else that we enjoy. And for me, it was flower ranging. And I found a really good teacher who taught us flower ranging. And that's what I did. Made me utterly happy. Viktor Frankl described the tragic triad of pain, guilt, and death. He said that's what gets us when we are bereaved like that. Pain, guilt, and death. So I will cover them in that order. For pain, he said, to transform pain into something else, create an action. For me, it was flower arranging and writing. I wrote a blog called Kids Are Gifts from the day Sagar passed. I wrote every day for 1,000 days, only because that's all I could do. I could do nothing. I was completely powerless. But what I could do was write. And I did that. And that was great because the blog formed a little community around itself. And some people got encouragement from it. They got support, they got understanding. And for me, it was a wonderful form of expressing myself. And it was just so nice to see that other people benefited from it. And I also, of course, speak in public. And I did some talks for junior doctors 2 years ago. And then a few months later, one of them wrote back to me and said that, I heard your talk one day after I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and I had refused treatment. And then after listening to your talk, I went and got treatment and I've never felt better. It's like, that's so cool. I mean, of course, now happiness always comes with tears. It's just the way it is. I'm extremely happy for him. But it's great. But of course, that's just how it is. And it's beautiful, it's just doing what you can with what you have. I have my story and I go all over the world telling people my story and saying, this is what we can learn from this. Let us learn what we can learn. I go around telling doctors, mental hospitals, charities, whoever will listen, I'll tell them my story because that's all I have. And I arrange flowers. That gives me immense peace. I will show off now some of my flower arrangements. This is Rika. It's a Japanese Ikebana, which is a very technical, it's not complete because the sides have gone out of the photograph. It's a huge arrangement. This is just freestyle. These are very minimalistic arrangements, and they really appreciate each leaf and each curve of a twig and every autumnal shade. And it's just really made me appreciate nature. And this is very seasonal, sunflowers. And there was another fact I learned about sunflowers, that they always face the sun. And when the sun's not shining, how do they get strength? By facing each other, like you and me. And that's what we are doing now, getting strength from each other. This is my Sagar. And this is the blog. It's called Kids Are Gifts. And it is, and he was a true gift. I have to remind myself now that my life is also a gift. Yes. The Dalai Lama said another thing, that when the young die, they are your spiritual guides. You need to learn from them how they lived. And of course, I always remember, I'm sure as you do, how he lived. He lived beautifully. So we've covered pain, part of the triad. The second part of the triad is guilt, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. Um, so I worked very long hours. It was just my passion, my work. I love it. I love being an anesthetist. I could spend all my life in the hospital. And I did. I used to spend lots of time in the hospital. And I thought when I came home, Sagar would be there. Of course, he would be there. And then one day he wasn't. So I had to stop. After I recovered from the initial shock, I had to think, what else am I taking for granted? Who else am I taking for granted? My parents, my friends, my siblings, my friends, my health. What else am I taking for granted in this minute? I was forced to ask that of myself because I had taken things for granted in the past. And of course, I was guilty, but I was also willing to ask that question of myself and change. And now I don't spend as much time in the hospital. I don't work weekends. I come home and time in the evening. I spend time with the people I love. And work has been put back in its place. I take time to speak to my friends and listen to them. So while guilt is there, it is also there because there was love and they mattered. But it's also an opportunity to ask ourselves to live as if we were living a second time with our eyes open this time and not make the same mistakes again. Or they're not even mistakes because this is who we were then, and that is not our fault for being who we were then. It's not our fault, but it is an opportunity. And the third and last thing in the triad of pain, grief, pain, guilt, and death. So in the garden, I have a lovely rose bush. And in that rose bush, I have buds and I have dead heads and everything in between. It's just constant, it's just there in front of me. The geraniums are the same. That is just the cycle of life. Everything is impermanent, but we are conditioned to run towards pleasure and shun pain without knowing that they are both same side of this, the two sides of the same coin. And everything is impermanent. It has also brought me completely face to face with the reality of my own mortality. I am going to die one day. And how do I want to live till I die? Each day is a gift, is an opportunity to be defiant and say, no, I'm going to live on my own terms. I am. I'm not going to be defeated. I can do this. Having belief and faith and knowing that there are people to support you. And working with love for yourself. That's the other thing that, we are conditioned to criticize ourselves. Nobody ever says that, you've been through a lot. Be kind. Be kind to yourself. You don't have to go out there and do massive things. Just things that come out of love from your heart. Do those. Viktor Frankl believed that he survived his stay in the concentration camp only because he hoped that he would see his wife again. He hoped that he would see his wife again, which sadly he didn't. But that hope and that longing kept him alive. He said without that, he loved her every day without knowing whether she was dead or alive. He loved her. And that love sustained him. So when such a shocking thing happens, everything contracts in us, in me anyway. You know, my fingers, my toes, everything was like tight. My heart was constricted into a tight ball. My chest was, it was like being compressed from all sides. It could hardly breathe. I'm sure you're familiar with that feeling. And I had to teach myself to loosen, to inhabit my body fully, relaxed. And actually try to expand, be expansive. Fortunately, I had learned to meditate about 7 years before all this happened. And I had that practice within me, and I could use it to, even for 10 minutes, if I could relax. It was such a huge blessing. And I am convinced that I couldn't have done it without that. I'm very tempted to run a small exercise with you, just wherever you are. Um, if you could just follow my instructions, maybe just for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and we can try this and see if it works. It's really strange doing it on Zoom, but let's see. So, so I'd request you to find a comfortable position so you can sit, hold that position for maybe 5 minutes without moving too much. If you need to move, of course, move. But if you just take a position where you can sit still, so we're aiming for stillness. Put some attention on your back. Try and keep your spine as straight as you can, shoulders relaxed. And if you close your eyes, that might be better, so that the stimulation from outside is not as much. And just observe your breath going in and out. You don't have to change anything about it. Just observe your breath. Take a deep breath in and let go. Once again, take a deep breath in and release. Let the incoming breath energize you, and let the outgoing breath relax you. Feel your fingertips. Feel your hands. Let them drop. Rest them fully where they rest. Move your attention up to your wrists, and then your forearms, elbows, arms, shoulders, Feel the tension in your shoulders and let it go. Let the weight of the world fall away. Relax your neck. Relax your jaw, the muscles around the eyes. Fully relax your face. Become aware of your thoughts, good or bad. Just watch them come and go. Become aware of your feelings. Pleasant or unpleasant. Accept them all and relax. Accept all the sounds around you. Come back to your body. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Good? Good? Nice. So I've never done this one on Zoom before, but there we go. Yeah, so I have found great solace in stillness. Stillness of the body, stillness of the mind, complete non-judgmental space where you can relax, irrespective of the past or the future. Leaving the past in the past, leaving the future in the future, just being with the body and the breath in the present. There are innumerable meditations on YouTube that can guide you if you like that kind of thing. For me, just sitting still in silence is the best thing. But I would encourage you to practice stillness. You will find many answers there. I did. You might, I don't know, but until you try, you wouldn't know. I would encourage you to try. So this is this just a little, just to get us back into thinking about where we're at. What do you think is the longest journey? You can type it into the chat again and Carolyn will moderate that. What do you think is the longest journey?
Facing the future without my son. Grief and bereavement. From now till I die. Living without my daughter. This one without my girl. Ill health till I die. Living without my daughter. Self-respect, putting one foot in front of the other, coping with every day, living without my son, just allowing the pain, trying to find some measure of peace, trying to be happy without my son, guilt, trying to recover.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I know it's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. So I think in our society, we put too much emphasis on our head, on our brain, on our intellectual ability, on our thoughts. Too much, completely disproportionate. We have almost forgotten how to connect with our hearts. For me, that journey was made in 1 second when Sagar passed, because I just could see that I'd been living all my life from my head, because my heart had been hurt so much that I was shielding it. I wasn't using it much. I was only using my brain. And then I realized that, so many of us just go around pretending everything is okay. Like we are so afraid to be vulnerable. In this space, we can be vulnerable. But the head is going to make your life, my life, it made even worse, because I wanted logic. I wanted it to make sense. I wanted A plus B equals C. How can this be? That question was so big for me as it is for you, was unthinkable. My brain was like bursting with that. So much resistance I had with it. But then I slowly realized that actually the instrument of healing is the heart. Even if it's broken, it can only heal through itself. The brain, the mind only makes things worse because it creates all these dramas around it. And we're so attached to these dramas. We're so attached to our stories. I am too. That we cannot free ourselves of that. Not to say it didn't happen. Of course it happened. But if I want to heal, I need to connect with my heart. And I did that through the writing, through the flower arranging, through speaking, connecting, through speaking with people who had gone through similar experiences. My friends who understood. But healing is the work of the heart. And I think we need to be able to recognize when our brain is completely driving us crazy, and connect with our hearts with compassion for ourselves. What we've been through is unthinkable, unlivable, unsurvivable at some level. And yet we are here, commending ourselves for that, acknowledging ourselves, honoring ourselves and the memories of our loved ones. And having heart that, okay, we'll it'll be okay. It'll be hard, but being creative with it, with love for yourself, compassion for yourself, and not letting the guilt take the better of you. It's a completely unproductive thing unless you can use it as an opportunity and turn it around on its head. So after all these years, only a couple of weeks ago when I was preparing for this talk, I found that this is a thing. Post-traumatic growth is something that has been researched, and it has been scientific papers have been written about it. And it has 5 elements, which is appreciation of life and whatever it offers us right now in a new light, seeing it with a child's eyes, with amazement and wonder, and the possibility of magic, like children do, starting afresh, consolidating our relationships with others like we are doing now, having a sense of community. I was a complete lone ranger. I didn't really care about anybody. I did my thing. I traveled everywhere, I did my own thing. Even I remember, even as a school kid, I never understood why girls needed to go to the loo together. You know, I said, why do these two girls have to go together anyway? You know, they're not going to be together. I never understood why people went for movies together, because anyway you're going to sit in silence. When I went for movies, I just hope nobody came with me, because I wanted to watch the movie without anybody talking to me. I was like that, so terrible, because I just wanted to watch the film undisturbed. And only now I have discovered this community, the sense of community, so important, so beautiful. Again, holding the belief that meaningful pursuits are possible. It's possible to find meaning again, to live with greater authenticity, greater sense of self. And being more connected with yourself and others. And this is a scientific paper I'm quoting. This is not me, but I only found it 2 weeks ago, and I thought, oh wow, all these things have happened in the last few years, slowly. It must be post-traumatic growth. I didn't have a name for it. I still don't. I'm just sharing some information with you that I read that might be relevant to us, and also for the scientists amongst us to present that this is a scientific fact, and many people have experienced this. So in short, we've looked at growth in nature towards light, the uniqueness of our experiences, the possibility of happiness even in Sisyphus's condition, Viktor Frankl's story, the triad of pain, guilt, and death, and trying to negotiate each one of those and turn them around into an action or a change or an opportunity. Intensification of inner life through stillness, through the experience of the body and the breath, and knowing that your life is a gift. It brings a uniqueness and a beauty to the world. It bears gifts that will reveal themselves along the way. Just bear with it. The best days some of the best days in our lives are yet to come. That is possible. This is an ancient Chinese proverb. And I hope that you'll be able to take heart and reaffirm your faith in yourself, in your life a little bit, that you'll be able to own your pain and work with it. And you'll be able to make your own path by walking it. And you can. I promise you. Look around you. So many people have, and you will too. Thank you so much. I'm done. I can take questions, comments, anything you like. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. If anyone would like to comment or give any feedback or ask Sangeeta any questions, please just type them into the chat. We've got 5 or 10 minutes where we could take questions if you would like to do that, or comments. Lots of lovely comments, Sangeeta, about how moving, you're truly awesome, so moving, will help me. Thank you so much. New perspective. Any questions? There's a question here, Sangeeta. How long did it take you to start getting out there and speaking about from your heart?
So it was April in the next year. So that was 7 months, but I was very raw. And I had sort of kept myself as a backup, and I said I may not talk at the last minute, and the speaker was and the organizer was happy with that. But the speaker before me was a consultant psychiatrist who was speaking about depression, and she spoke about depression, and till the end I kept waiting that she would speak about suicide, and she didn't. And that made me so angry, that you're a psychiatrist and you're afraid to talk about suicide. And I was like, no, I have to. It made me so angry that this woman had not spoken about suicide while talking about depression, being a psychiatrist. And I realized that it's down to me. It's down to people like me who have been bereaved by suicide to talk about it, because nobody else will. And I use that anger to actually speak. So whatever you're feeling, if you are feeling anger, bare your fangs. If you are, whatever is happening, just express it in the most creative, constructive way. If you need to bang your pillows and beat them up, do that, but get it out, get the energy moving through you, and you will find an expression that works.
And Sangeeta, thank you. There's another question. How did you deal with others' insensitivity when you were so raw early on?
Well, I was disappointed, but it didn't bother me, because in the light of what had happened, their behavior was, I had to choose that, am I going to focus on somebody else's behavior, or am I going to heal myself and use this blast of emotional energy that I feel in me, use it to some good? Am I going to waste my emotional energy on these people who don't matter anyway? Some of them were my own family members. And I just I had to make that choice, and I had the freedom. I said, am I going to waste my emotional energy on getting angry with them? Or am I going to actually honor my son's memory and love him and tell the whole world how wonderful he was and how wonderful love is and how love never dies? And is that more important? Or is somebody's stupidity and ignorance more important? That is for them to learn, right? That's not my problem. I have to learn from what is happening to me and prioritize where I want to put my energy. So it disappointed me, but I did not allow it to do any more than that, because I did not want to waste my energy.
Is that the same thing Christina has asked? I cannot let myself get past the guilt. So that emotion of guilt. Can you say something about that?
It's a very tough one, isn't it? Because we, as parents, feel very responsible. But Khalil Gibran has said that, the children come through you. They don't belong to you. They are life's longing for itself. So we are just the conduits through which these beautiful souls find a body to experience the world. They don't belong to us. So, they are their own people. And while we hold ourselves responsible, we are actually, they also have their free will, and their soul has its own journey. And we are not God. We don't decide who lives, who dies. So at some level, we have to let go of that. It's hard. It's an everyday struggle, like Sisyphus's rock. But I think reading other people's writings and thinking about these kind of things has really helped me. But that's all I can offer you, really, Christina. I don't have the answer, but I suppose you can learn from that guilt for the future, make it an opportunity. And know that it's natural. Don't resist it. When it comes, just let it sit with it. Let it come and go. Don't believe in all the thoughts. The thoughts are there to terrorize you. Don't believe in them. Just hold your own, breathe through them. They will pass.
Just a couple more questions, Sangeeta. Kaz says, thank you, wonderful. How do you go forward when you have no support? Living on my own, I find this very difficult.
I can't imagine how you do it living alone. It must be so hard. But you're not alone. We are all in this together. TCF is one organization. And I really don't know. You reach out to people, reach out to old friends. Some of my strongest supports have been my oldest friends from medical school. Don't be shy. Don't judge yourself. Don't think people don't want to spend time with me. Just say, let's meet for coffee. Don't wait for somebody to approach you. You put out the first hand, put out your hand and say. We are not very good at asking for help, And we expect people to guess that we need help. She should know, right? She doesn't know. Tell her. Be kind to yourself and identify what you need and ask for it. I'm sure there are people that you can ask and approach. If not, you have TCF, you have other bereavement charities and other peer support charities. So yeah, I'm sure if you were to contact Carolyn or Sharon individually, they'd guide you and give you more resources. Yeah. But if you wanted to talk to me on the phone, I'd be very happy to talk to you. We're all in this together, darling. You're not alone.
There's a question here, Sangeeta. Do you think there are some universally physical, learnable lessons about this trauma? For example, stop drinking alcohol, exercise more, don't smoke, go vegetarian, practice meditation, do yoga. Do you think there is one that is most important in your personal experience?
No, I think there's only one, which is stay connected. Don't isolate yourself. Stay connected. Do what you need to do. It's different for everybody. There's no single formula for everyone. Do what you need to do. Fall, get up again, try something else, fall again, crawl again, get up again. It's just try. It's trial and error. Different things will work for different people. But I would suggest that drinking, this is a medical fact, it's not a judgment, but alcohol is a depressant. The effect of alcohol on the brain is to cause depression. So if you're sad and you drink, it's going to make you sadder. So It doesn't solve anything, but if you want to share a drink with a friend, just as a social thing to feel better, maybe, it's okay. Try. I don't know. But what I know is that everybody is so different that there's no one answer for everyone. But look in nature, you'll find lots of answers in nature. Spend time in nature. I think that is one universal answer, to spend time in nature and observe the seasons, the days, the nights, the flowers and the buds and the trees. I mean, there's such splendor and beauty all around you. The earth gives us all the answers and holds us.
Thank you, Sangeeta. I think we should close now, but I just want to close by just picking up on a couple of things in the chat, which was an idea to set up a support group for those people living alone. I think that's a really good idea, and I think we'll try to think about that, how we might be able to do that, particularly online in Compassionate Friends. And just to remember that we have a helpline. So if you need to talk to another bereaved parent, then there is that helpline, and it's always answered by a bereaved parent who's there to listen and support. And you'll find that number on our website. But just to finish, just to say thank you so much to Sangeeta. I mean, I'm just going to say what everyone has said in the chat, but for the inspiring, hopeful words delivered in such a sort of calming way that is so very helpful. I know that Sangeeta and myself hope that some of her unique perspective and reflections on finding meaning after our terrible losses will resonate with you, and that you find something, just one thing maybe, in her words to take away and build upon in your own lives and your own journey of loss. Huge thanks to Sangeeta for taking the time to talk to us tonight and to answer questions and take comments. And she did mention to me yesterday when we were talking about the talk that she would be happy to answer any other questions or receive comments by email, so you can route those through Compassionate Friends, and we'll forward them to her. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're really, really grateful to you. Just a reminder before we leave that our next speaker in this series of Compassionate Friends Talks will be Maria Ahern. She's a trustee of Compassionate Friends and former chair. Please come and join Maria online on the 2nd of September at 7 p.m. as she talks honestly and those of you who know her, with her own humour, inimitable humour, about her two constant companions, her son, James, and her grief, and how the three of them walk side by side. And you can find details on how to register for the event on our website under online events. So thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your evening, and please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
Do you want me to stay on for a bit?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Sure.
Please, everyone, leave as you wish. It's not very nice when a meeting just kind of disappears, is it? It's nice to be able to leave yourself.
Yeah.
When you want.
I'll read some of the comments.
Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
What was the book called again, please? Hold on.
Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Not at all.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Carolyn.
Bye, Kathleen. Take care.
And you. Bye.
There we go. That's it, I think.
Okay.
That's everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sangeeta. That was just beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Well, you can only speak from your own experience, isn't it?